The first time the wolves appeared at my door, I thought I was dreaming. The snow had been falling relentlessly for hours, blanketing the forest in silence, and I had never felt so utterly alone. Then came the scratching, soft at first, then urgent, desperate. When I opened the door, I didn't see ordinary wolves. Their fur was black as midnight, their eyes glinting with an intelligence that made my blood run cold and my heart race at the same time. One whimpered, shivering uncontrollably, and without thinking, I pulled it inside, wrapping it in my thin shawl. I didn't know then that this single act of compassion would change my life forever. By morning the forest had grown restless. Shadows moved among the trees, and the snow was broken by dozens of glowing golden eyes. The pack had arrived. At their center stood a figure I would never forget, the Alpha King. His gaze pierced me as if he could see every fear, every secret I had buried deep inside. In that instant, I realized that my quiet, fragile life had ended the moment I chose to care for those two freezing creatures. And from that moment, nothing would ever be the same. The wind howled through the dense forest surrounding Alara's little cottage, shaking the frost-laden branches and rattling the windows. She shivered, pulling her thin shawl tighter around her shoulders. The snow had started falling hours ago, thick and relentless, coating the world in a blinding white. Her small hearth provided little warmth, and her stomach growled from missing dinner. Alara, an omega of the small village bordering the wolf territories, had always known she was different. Shunned by many for her weak constitution and gentle nature, she had learned early to rely on herself. Tonight, however, a feeling of unease gnawed at her. Something in the forest felt restless. A sudden thump at the door made her heart leap. She cautiously approached, her bare feet crunching on the cold wooden floor. Peering through the frosted glass, her breath caught. Two black wolves, larger than any she had ever seen, sat on the porch. Their fur was slick with snow, their eyes glowing faintly under the moonlight. One whimpered softly, shivering violently. "Oh, you poor things," she whispered, unlocking the door. The wolves didn't move. Their eyes were pleading, almost human in their intensity. Without thinking, Alara stepped outside, wrapping her shawl around them. Carefully, she guided them inside, closing the door against the storm. The larger wolf lowered its head inside, curling against the fire. The smaller one nuzzled her hand, letting out a small whine. Their warmth seeped into her frozen fingers, their presence strangely comforting. She had no idea how dangerous it might be, bringing such wild creatures into her home, but compassion outweighed fear. The night passed in uneasy silence, punctuated only by the wolves' occasional growls and the crackle of the fire. Alara couldn't sleep, her mind spinning with questions. Who were they? Why had they come to her? And why did she feel deep in her bones that this was the beginning of something monumental? By the time dawn broke, snow blanketed the world outside in a pure, sparkling white. Alara's house was quiet, save for the soft breathing of her newfound companions. She stepped to the window and froze. Through the thinning snow, shapes emerged from the forest, shadows moving with predatory grace. Wolves, dozens of them. The pack had arrived, and they weren't coming alone. A deep, commanding growl rolled through the clearing. Alara's heart skipped. The wolves at her hearth stiffened, ears pricked forward. From the center of the approaching pack stepped a figure, a massive alpha, fur black as midnight, eyes like molten gold. He moved with the authority of a king, and every creature fell silent at his approach. He stopped at the edge of her property, gaze locking onto Alara. In that moment, time seemed to freeze. She felt a pull in her chest, a tether connecting her very soul to his. "You've sheltered my kin." The alpha's voice rumbled, though his lips didn't move. It echoed in her mind, commanding, powerful, yet laced with curiosity. "Why?" Alara's voice trembled. I couldn't leave them out in the storm. They were freezing. I couldn't just turn away. The Alpha's eyes softened, just slightly, and a growl of approval rolled through the pack. But there was something else in his gaze, something that made her knees weaken. Recognition, destiny. That morning, Alara realized her life had changed forever. The quiet, lonely Omega had drawn the attention of a king, and not just any king. The Alpha of the Shadowfang pack, feared and respected across the lands, had chosen to notice her. The pack circled her house, growling softly as if guarding her, and daring anyone else to approach. Alara felt both fear and exhilaration. She was no longer alone. But she also understood something critical. Her life, safe and predictable until now, had just spiraled into danger, passion and power beyond her wildest imaginings. And this was only the beginning. The snow had settled into a pristine blanket outside, but inside Alara's cottage the tension was palpable. The two black wolves she had rescued moved restlessly, ears twitching, eyes fixed on the looming shapes outside. The pack had not left, they were still there, circling, their golden eyes gleaming like molten fire in the pale morning light. Then he stepped forward, the Alpha King himself. Towering, immense, and impossibly powerful, his black fur rippled under the faint snowfall that clung to him. His gaze locked on Alara, piercing, unrelenting. There was a magnetic force in the air, a pull so strong that her knees nearly buckled. "You took them in," he said, his voice a low growl that seemed to reverberate through the walls, the floor, and her very bones. "Even knowing who they are." Alara swallowed, clutching the shawl tighter around her shoulders. I couldn't leave them out there. They were freezing, starving. I couldn't just leave them. Her words trembled, but there was honesty in her eyes, a vulnerability that both unsettled and intrigued him. A flicker of something almost tender passed over his features. Almost, but the tension remained. He stepped closer, and the room seemed to shrink under his presence. The smaller wolf at her feet growled softly, backing against her leg protectively. The Alpha didn't flinch. "You have a bold heart, Omega," he said. "Not many would dare defy the cold of the Shadowfang territories and survive." His golden eyes studied her, and for a terrifying moment, Alara felt as if he could see straight into her soul. "Do you understand what you've done? Rescuing them binds you to me whether you wish it or not." Alara's heart hammered. "Binds me? What do you mean?" The Alpha crouched slightly, lowering his head to her level, his breath misting in the cold air. "By taking care of my wolves, you have drawn the attention of the pack and me. You are now under my protection and my claim. The choice is no longer yours." A shiver ran down her spine, equal parts fear and something unfamiliar, a thrilling, dangerous excitement. She had always known the legends. The Alpha of Shadowfang never spared weakness, never forgave hesitation. Yet here he was, acknowledging her bravery. Before she could respond, the two black wolves she had rescued pressed against her sides, growling low and warningly. They seemed to sense the shift in the room, the tension between their Alpha and their savior. The larger wolf nuzzled her hand, almost reassuringly, and she realized something startling. They were not just ordinary wolves. Their loyalty, their emotions, they mirrored humans in a way that made her skin tingle. The Alpha's gaze softened briefly, a flicker of curiosity mingled with something far more dangerous, desire. "You are fragile," he said, almost a whisper, "and yet you have strength. I cannot ignore that. You will learn quickly that survival in my world is not about the warmth of your hearth, Omega. It is about the strength of your heart, your mind, and your soul." Alara swallowed hard, her pulse racing. The room seemed to vibrate with his presence, and she suddenly understood the Shadowfang pack wasn't just a collection of wolves. It was a kingdom, and she had just stepped into its heart. A sudden noise outside drew both her and the alpha's attention. The pack's growls intensified, circling the perimeter of her cottage. Then, as if on command, the two black wolves she had saved leapt to the windows, eyes glowing with a strange, almost human intelligence. The alpha's lips curved slightly. They trust you, and so must the pack. Come morning, you will meet them properly. And by then, Omega, you will understand that your life as you knew it is over. Your safety, your freedom, it depends on me, and on your willingness to survive what is coming. Alara's breath hitched. The weight of his words pressed on her chest, but beneath the fear, a spark of something she had never felt began to grow: anticipation. Even in the face of danger, even under the watchful eyes of an alpha who could crush her without effort, she felt alive. Outside, the pack howled, a chilling symphony that echoed through the frozen forest. The Alpha King's eyes flicked to them, then back to her. Prepare yourself, Omega. The Shadow Fangs do not forgive weakness, and neither do I. That night, as the storm abated and silence returned, Alara understood one thing clearly: the wolves she had saved were only the beginning. She had no idea the storm that awaited her, within the pack, within the Alpha, and within herself. And deep down, she knew one undeniable truth: she would never be alone again. The morning sun glinted weakly through the frost-coated windows, painting Alara's small cottage in shades of silver and gold. But there was no warmth in her chest, only a fluttering anxiety that refused to be soothed. The previous night's events, the two black wolves she had rescued, the Alpha's sudden, commanding presence, and the pack circling outside, had left her trembling in anticipation of what was to come. A low rumble shook the ground. Alara's gaze flew to the door, her stomach knotting. Outside, the pack had grown in number. Dozens of sleek, powerful wolves prowled the perimeter of her home. Their golden eyes glowed like embers, each one fixated on her with a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and authority. The Alpha stepped forward, his immense form filling the doorway. "They have judged you," he said, his voice calm but resonant, carrying the weight of command. "They are aware of your actions. They are aware of your choice to protect those under my care." Alara's breath caught. "And what do they think?" His golden eyes softened just slightly, though the authority never wavered. "They are intrigued and cautious. They will test you. Shadow Fangs respect strength, Omega, not words, not intentions. You will have to prove yourself if you wish to remain alive and, more importantly, safe." Before she could respond, the Alpha's lips curled into a faint, predatory smile. "The first test begins now." A massive wolf, the second in command of the pack, stepped forward, its fur bristling. Its gaze locked on Alara, intense and unwavering. It circled her like a predator assessing prey, every movement deliberate. The black wolf she had rescued pressed close to her, growling low, warningly. Alara swallowed, her voice trembling. I don't want to fight. I only want peace." The Alpha's eyes flicked to her, sharp and assessing. "Peace is earned, Omega. It is not given freely. Show them that you are worthy." The second in command lunged suddenly, moving faster than her eyes could follow. Instinctively, Alara stepped back, but then she remembered the black wolves by her side. The larger of the two leapt forward, placing itself between her and the attacker. Teeth bared, it growled, a low, rumbling sound that shook her very bones. The pack wolf froze, then backed down, assessing the loyalty and courage of these two creatures. The Alpha's voice cut through the tension, low and commanding. "They protect you. That is a sign, but not enough. You will need more than protection to survive in this world." Alara's heart pounded, but beneath the fear, a surge of determination rose. "Then I will do whatever it takes. I will prove myself." A ripple passed through the pack, a mixture of approval and challenge. The Alpha's eyes softened as he studied her, though his expression never lost its edge. Good. Strength is not just physical omega. It is resilience, courage, and the willingness to face fear. You have taken your first step. He stepped closer, his imposing frame now towering over her. The air around him seemed to thrum with power. Do not forget, Alara, he murmured, his golden eyes locking with hers. You have drawn the attention of the Shadowfang pack, and you have drawn my attention. Neither can be ignored. You belong to this world now, whether you wish it or not. Alara felt a shiver race down her spine, a mixture of awe and fear, and something darker, something she could not name. Her life, quiet and lonely until now, had been consumed by the storm of his presence, the raw power of the pack, and the dangerous allure of the Alpha himself. As she stepped back, the pack withdrew slightly, leaving her a narrow path to the cottage door. The black wolves pressed close, nuzzling her hands as if to remind her that she was not alone. The Alpha's voice cut softly through the morning air, a whisper yet filled with command. Tonight, we will hunt. You will come with me. It is time you learn what it truly means to survive as part of Shadowfang, and what it means to be claimed. Alara's breath caught. The idea of hunting with the Alpha, of facing the wild alongside him, filled her with a mixture of fear, excitement, and something dangerously intoxicating. And in that instant, she understood the truth that had been forming in her chest since the wolves had appeared at her dory. She would never be the same again. Her life had been forever intertwined with the Alpha, with his pack, and with the storm that was now sweeping through her very soul. The black wolves by her side whined softly, their eyes gleaming with anticipation. Alara glanced at them, then at the Alpha. Her pulse raced. This was only the beginning of the test, of the bond, of the desire that would pull her deeper into a world she could never leave. Night fell over the snow-covered forest, turning the world into a silent, silver expanse. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of pine and frost, and something darker, predators moving unseen. Alara stood at the edge of the clearing, her breath visible in the cold air, her heart hammering in anticipation and fear. The Alpha King emerged from the shadows, his black fur glinting faintly under the moonlight. Every step he took radiated power, control, and an unspoken challenge. The pack followed him, moving as one, fluid and silent. Alara's two black wolves nudged her forward, urging her to keep pace. You will stay close, the Alpha instructed, his golden eyes piercing hers. The forest is unforgiving. One wrong step and it could be your last. Alara nodded, gripping the shawl tighter around her shoulders. The cold bit at her skin, but the heat of his presence, so near, so intense, made her pulse race in ways she couldn't name. The hunt began in silence, the pack spreading out like shadows among the trees. Alara followed the Alpha, her senses straining to absorb every sound, every movement. She could feel the wolves' energy, tense, ready, coordinated. Every instinct she had screamed to stay back, to hide, to survive. But the Alpha's gaze never left her, a constant reminder that she could not falter. Suddenly, a rustle echoed through the trees. A flash of movement, prey. The pack shifted instantly, muscles coiling like springs. Alara's heart leaped as the Alpha signaled with a low, commanding growl. The two black wolves she had saved darted forward, their speed and precision astonishing. Watch carefully, the Alpha murmured in her mind, his voice deep and resonant, wrapping around her like a cloak. Learn from them. Strength is not just about power, it is about focus, timing, and instinct. Alara's gaze followed the chase, her pulse synchronizing with the rhythm of the hunt. She marveled at their coordination, at the seamless communication among the pack, and then the Alpha turned to her. You are mine, he growled softly, the words brushing against her mind like fire. And I will not allow harm to come to you. But you must understand, being claimed is not protection from danger. It is becoming part of it. A shiver ran through her body, and her cheeks flushed despite the cold. She met his gaze, feeling the weight of his presence pressing down on her, undeniable and magnetic. The forest around them seemed to fade, leaving only the alpha and the tension between them, taut, dangerous, and exhilarating. The hunt continued, the prey elusive, darting through the trees. Elara stumbled once, her foot catching in a root, and the alpha's hand shot out to steady her. His touch sent a jolt of heat through her, and she felt a shiver that had nothing to do with the cold. "Focus," he murmured, his voice a low growl in her mind. "You cannot falter. Not now." The prey finally broke into the clearing. The pack surged forward like a living shadow, a perfect storm of teeth, claws, and precision. Elara watched, mesmerized, as the alpha led the kill with ruthless efficiency. His strength, his speed, his intelligence. It was terrifying and captivating all at once. When it was over, the forest fell silent again, save for the panting of the wolves and Elara's own ragged breath. The alpha stepped to her side, towering, his presence enveloping her. "You watched closely," he said, eyes gleaming. "Learned something." Elara nodded, words failing her. Every nerve in her body was alive, every sense heightened. She had seen power, precision, and control, things that thrilled and terrified her in equal measure. And beneath it all, an undeniable pull to the alpha himself. He lowered his head slightly, brushing his muzzle against the top of her hair in a gesture that was almost intimate. "You will survive here, Omega," he murmured. "But only if you embrace your place by my side." Her heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear, desire, and anticipation. The night had tested her, shown her the wild, dangerous world of the Shadowfang pack, and revealed something deeper. The Alpha King was more than a predator. He was her storm, her challenge, and perhaps her destiny. And as she followed him back through the snow-laden forest, she realized something she couldn't deny. She was no longer the fragile, lonely Omega she had been. She was becoming part of something fierce, powerful, and terrifyingly beautiful, and she would never look back. The forest was quieter now, the snow settling in thick, soft layers, muffling the sounds of the world. Elara followed the Alpha King through the frozen paths, the two black wolves she had rescued flanking her. Every step she took seemed heavier than the last, not from the cold, but from the weight of the reality she had stepped into. She was no longer a bystander, she was part of the Shadowfang pack now, whether she wanted it or not. The Alpha moved with fluid precision, every step measured, powerful, and graceful. Elara struggled to match his pace, her breaths coming in ragged clouds. Her body ached in ways she had never felt before, muscles trembling, lungs burning, but he never slowed, never adjusted his pace for her weakness, and yet she didn't want him to. Strength is not just physical. He growled in her mind, the vibration of his voice wrapping around her like a cloak. It is endurance, it is courage, and it is knowing when to bend, when to hold, and when to fight. She nodded, though he couldn't see her. The words resonated deep within her, a lesson she had learned the hard way the night she had rescued the two black wolves. It was one thing to save them, to show compassion, but surviving here, surviving him, meant something far more complex. They reached a clearing where the rest of the pack had gathered. Dozens of wolves circled her, their golden eyes reflecting the moonlight. A low murmur of approval or challenge rippled through them. The Alpha stopped at the center, turning his gaze to her. "This is your trial," he said. His voice carried over the clearing, commanding, absolute. To remain part of Shadowfang, to earn your place, you must face them. Alone. Elara's stomach turned. She had expected danger, tests, but this was something entirely different. The pack pressed closer, their growls low and warning-laden, circling like shadows. Her 2 wolves stayed by her side, but even they stiffened under the weight of the challenge. "Step forward," the alpha commanded. "Show them your strength, your heart. Prove that you belong here." Alara's hands trembled. She swallowed hard, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed. I will not fail," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. A wolf stepped forward, massive and imposing, its eyes locked on hers. It lunged suddenly, but instead of attacking, it stopped inches away, testing her courage. Alara met its gaze steadily, refusing to flinch. The wolf circled her, assessing, and then another joined, and another. Time seemed to stretch, each moment a battle of wills. She could feel the alpha's presence behind her, a constant, simmering heat that emboldened her. His golden eyes locked with hers, silent encouragement burning in their depths. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the pack stepped back, their growls softening. Approval radiated from them, subtle yet unmistakable. The alpha moved forward, brushing close to her, his scent enveloping her like wildfire. "You survived your first trial," he murmured, his lips brushing her ear in a ghost of a touch. "But this is only the beginning. Strength alone is not enough, Omega. You must understand the pack, understand me, and understand yourself." Alara's pulse raced, her cheeks flushing. The danger was real, the challenge terrifying, but beneath it all, a thrill coursed through her veins. She was alive in a way she had never been before, and as she glanced up at the alpha, she realized something undeniable. Her heart was no longer entirely her own. The alpha's gaze softened, just for a fraction of a second, before his commanding presence returned. "Rest now," he said. "Tomorrow, the real training begins. You will learn to hunt, to fight, to survive, and perhaps, Omega, you will learn to trust me completely." Alara sank to the snow, exhausted yet exhilarated, the 2 black wolves curling around her protectively. She had faced the pack and emerged intact, but she knew that every challenge from here on would be harder, more dangerous, and far more intimate. And somewhere deep within her, a spark of anticipation burned. A spark that was not just about survival, but about the Alpha King who had claimed her heart even before she had realized it. The forest whispered around them, and the Shadowfang pack watched in silent, approving patience. Alara understood one thing with perfect clarity. She was no longer just a fragile Omega. She was part of something wild, powerful, and dangerous. And there was no turning back.